What are some economic bitter truths Australians must accept? Just saw the Boxing Day sale figures, and I don't really think the cost of living is biting people too hard, or that it's at least lopsided towards most people being fine, but an increasing amount of people are becoming poorer, but not as bad as we think here. The Australian housing-based economy. Too many Australians have efficiently built their wealth in real estate, and if you take that away now, the damage will be significant, even if that means it's better for the youth in the long run. The migration debate and its complexities. Australians are having less families, and therefore we need migrants to work our shit service jobs that were usually occupied by teenagers or young adults. Or does migration make our society hyper-competitive and therefore no one has time for a family? Chicken and egg scenario. Frozen Cokes are $2 and likely will never turn back to $1. Tie me a knot. The bitter economic truth is that no one knows what the Boxing Day sale figures were like. There is no way anyone's collated that data yet, let alone 11 hours ago when the article was published. ARA makes up the numbers in advance every year. We're discussing made-up marketing numbers. Australia's economic complexity is ranked 82 in the world, behind just about everyone. We have a high standard of living supported by a primitive economy. Can argue it's skewed by mining, and it doesn't matter, but it does indicate very poor productive knowledge, and its use in both more and more complex industries. The Australian wealth effect is almost entirely made up of property gains in the most overextended market in the world. People can be poor in different ways, and not buying things isn't always the solution. As a prospective first-time home buyer, my problem is mortgage serviceability. I have a pretty decent deposit plus other savings already, but a very average income, especially as a single. Similar story with rent. Say I dropped a few $1,000s on Boxing Day. Alternately, that money wouldn't have done anything to better my specific cost of living problem. Maybe I'm wrong, but using big shopping holidays, Christmas, Boxing Day, as the sample size for determining whether or not retail has slowed down is pointless. No. Poor or rich, people will always take advantage of big holiday sales, no? This country has basically been geared towards boomers for a very long time in terms of various policies designed to enrich them. If we are to make society fairer for the next generation, there needs to be a complete rebalancing of how we tax boomers, starting with means testing for pensions as well as negative gearing rules for multiple houses. Otherwise, the next generation, those under 30, are going to work their lives as a small tax base, paying for a very high standard of living for those older than them, but without having had the same opportunities. The most bitter truth is that we have, collectively, been living beyond our means. And the current inflation cost of living crisis is actually the economic process by which our living standard falls. But the kicker is, unless we increase productivity and/or diversify the economy, due to our high wages, especially for low no-skill jobs, our standard of living must in aggregate fall. We are moving towards a two-class society. You will either be rich or poor. The Australian middle class is getting crushed by this perfect economic storm. We have invested too heavily in housing and not in business, and as a result, we have stuffed all Australian companies on the world stage due to lack of capital to grow without moving offshore. The most bitter truth about Australian economics is that too many people who don't know anything about economics have opinions on it. This post is poorly informed at best and actively incorrect at worst. It's almost like the people who are in a position to spend without a worry are the ones who aren't actually affected by the tool designed to stop people spending without worry. Inflation sitting at 5, increase in population of 2.5, with a pay increase of 5.5. And a 1 increase on year-to-year sales indicates to you people aren't hurting? To me it screams people are suffering. Australia is a capitalist country. Wealth gets vacuumed to the asset holders. This is by design. When you build the biggest or second biggest houses in the world, you then feel the need to fill it with shit you don't need. This may be a really unpopular opinion. But people don't actually need to own houses. Renting, if done right, can work. Some countries have done it well. Australia really has not, and it's messed so many things up. It's embedded in culture and how we view success. It goes to how we view renters, why we want to own property, the short-term nature of renting, tenancy laws, and so many things that we've really screwed up. Retail spending is down when you factor in population growth. I read we've recorded the biggest dip in 40 years, so trying to wrap my head around what people think appropriate cost of living pressure should look like. 1920s Great Depression-esque. All of them as they're all 100 out of our hands. Enjoy life, enjoy the ride, don't worry or sit on things you can't control. Too many people do this in life and on Reddit. We must accept that we are in the later stages of a game of Monopoly, when your uncle has all the developed properties on the top and right, while you have a couple of blues and a train station. You keep getting $200 a week, which he always takes, whilst receiving IOU notes from you too. Laughs in Puva renter. The most bitter truth is that billionaires, corporations, and the rich will happily keep FKG over our society and the planet if they think there's a buck in it for them, regardless of the consequences for everyone and everything. If you have a combined household income over 100K, you are in or close to the richest one in the world. If you have been living beyond your means with the help of cheap debt, your ride is coming to a rapid stop. I mean, sure, it doesn't look like we're struggling when the richest generations are outspending all their generational and hoarded wealth, which is one reason why inflation is still high. A lot, if not most, younger people are struggling to survive. Tell your government to build apartment buildings so that you build the city in the existing space. Time for 1-acre family homes is gone. Does migration make our society hyper-competitive and therefore no one has time for a family? If people have more kids, then that also makes society more competitive. That most people have never had it better and should enjoy it before the next GFC, whenever that comes. A third of the country have no rent or mortgage. For many people it's the best of times. Most out-of-touch take I've seen for a while. You're probably the problem. Everyone needs to accept the country is an enslavement machine now. If you don't already hold assets, you will never have that opportunity as a result of working hard. The government can improve economic conditions by raising taxes. Live within your means. The tattoo index suggests everything is just fine. The economy is ticking along just fine, almost every asset class is near all-time highs. Rate raises didn't stop people from spending and buying houses, cars, holidays as usual. Immigration solves far more economic problems than it creates. You can't blame them for everything you don't like about your life. Productivity is so important to increasing our standard of living. No one owes you a good life, you need to earn your own way. That you are not entitled to rezone other people's communities because you want to live near the CBD and work from home. Does migration hurt Dubai? Most the workforce are migrants, but they cannot buy there or stay there permanently. Once you're 60 you have to go. The packed shopping malls today certainly made it feel like most people are ticking along. No real economic slowdown in sight. Bitter truths. 1. 30 years of spend, debt, too much looking good and going nowhere. Even when a worldwide pandemic hits, money was being spent like there's no tomorrow. Well, tomorrow has arrived. I think blaming inflationary pressures on immigration is a little misguided. Inflation is at its highest point in Australia in 33 years is due to a combination of local and international conditions. These include the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022 and the blockage of gas and other exports, as well as the lingering effects of stimulus measures during the pandemic, and the accumulation of savings in a significant number of Australian households. Accepting refugees and migrants makes no economic sense in a world heading towards AI-based labor.